media class keeps getting caught. When facts become inconvenient, the argument starts shape-shifting. First certainty, then indignation, and finally emotional fog. You don't understand. That's not the point. We're talking about something deeper. Sometimes that's true, but sometimes deeper is just a prettier word for unprovable. Audiences are getting better at spotting the difference between defending an argument and defending an ego. That's what makes these clips so explosive. The moment a public figure realizes the argument is failing and escapes into moral abstraction. That might work in a seminar, but it works a lot less when the clip is cut to 19 seconds and dropped online.
Star Trek has been woke from day one. And woke is a good word. It's been given negative connotations, but woke just means you're awake and aware of everything that's going in the world around you. And that's what he's always been about, and that's what Star Trek has always been about. And so we're just carrying on that legacy.
Yes, and as a Starfleet Academy member, please also allow me to respond. If you've never been asleep, you can't be woke. See, this was a show that was created with the idea that people from other planets would come and we would all find a way to exist together. This was Gene's idea. This was his dream. And when you watch Star Trek, that's what it shows you.
And let's be honest, this didn't come out of nowhere. It was one more flare in a much longer war. COVID debates, culture wars, moral arguments, and the ongoing fight over whether public discourse should be honest or therapeutic. Maher has spent years challenging what he sees as sanctimony within his own ideological camp, the smugness, purity tests, and obsession with symbolic politics over practical reality. So when this latest fight landed, it felt preloaded, almost like a season finale written in slow motion. The audience already knew the characters. The defiant contrarian, the daytime moral authority, and a crowd waiting for someone to finally say, "Can we stop pretending this performance is wisdom?"
Here's the point. Why are you concentrating on a television show when people are being when people are going hungry, when farmers are losing their farms, kids can't get meals at school? Why are you paying attention to this?
To distract from the Epstein files?
Well, to distract from everything.
Here's the deeper problem. Modern commentary often doesn't analyze history. It auditions for it. People don't just want to understand the past. They want to cast themselves as its heroes. That's why some public figures talk like they're starring in a resistance drama whenever someone questions a slogan. Being correct isn't enough. They need to feel morally cinematic. That flattens history, erases context, and turns complex eras and flawed people into one giant morality stage where everyone asks, "Would I have been one of the good ones?" Almost everyone says yes. That's the joke and the danger. When public discourse becomes a costume party for imaginary bravery, nuance disappears first, then humility, and eventually reality.
Plenty of liberals also want history to control the present. And last month, a scholar named James Sweet caught hell for calling them out for doing just that. He criticized the phenomenon known as presentism, which means judging everyone in the past by the standards of the present. It's the belief that people who lived 100 or 500 or 1,000 years ago really should have known better.
And once that mindset takes hold, nothing stays in its own century. Historical figures get dragged into today's internet and judged by modern vocabulary, slogans, and ideological tests. It's exhausting and arrogant. History isn't raw material for your self-esteem, and the great figures of the past weren't waiting to validate anyone's 2026 online framework. Some crossed battlefields, defied empires, and died for convictions far bigger than modern branding. Yet now we judge them by whether they fit today's discourse. That's where criticism stops being intelligent and becomes performance art for people addicted to moral positioning.
A play called I, Joan, currently being presented in London, written by Charlie Josephine, who identifies as non-binary and uses they, them pronouns. And it portrays Joan of Arc as, surprise, non-binary with they, them pronouns. Which, if you think about it, makes even less sense because Joan, being French, spoke a language where every noun is masculine or feminine. Joan says in the play, "I'm not a girl. I don't fit that word," as if she's a character on Euphoria. Now, it's true, Joan of Arc did wear pants, but that's what the soldiers wore, and she was soldiering. But in the retelling, Joan would rather die than stop wearing men's clothing. Okay, Joan of Arc wasn't executed by the fashion police. Her trial went on for over 2 months. We have the transcript. And not once did she complain about being misgendered. She had bigger fish to fry, like herself.
And this is why so many ordinary viewers are done. Not because they're policy experts, but because they can feel when elite conversation has drifted into a hall of mirrors. Prices rise, families struggle, communities feel unstable, trust collapses, and yet television keeps pouring energy into symbolic battles that make insiders feel righteous while people at home feel ignored. That disconnect is political poison. Once viewers believe the media class cares more about emotional theater than concrete reality, the relationship breaks. And you don't fix that by scolding people harder, doubling down on moral outrage, or acting shocked when half the room walks away.
Whoopi Goldberg getting suspended by The View isn't karma, and I wouldn't want it if it was. People have to learn to disagree in this country and not hate for it.
So why did this clash go so viral? Because it had everything the internet loves. A celebrity, a contradiction, a moral claim, a reality check, years of tension, and one irresistible ingredient: the certainty that makes half the audience think someone is completely wrong. That's premium internet fuel. Maher knows it, Whoopi knows it, the producers know it. But beneath the viral moment is something darker. Modern media doesn't just report conflict anymore. It feeds on it, packages it, and sells it back as moral entertainment. And sometimes, when someone breaks the script hard enough, the audience stops seeing a debate and starts seeing the business model behind it.
That's what I've noticed. But I find that oftentimes when I'm watching the news, I'm only getting portions, because one of the things that happens, I was listening to you talk about the kids that had the Hamas flags. It reminded me of when people were saying Antifa is there, and doing that. So bad players show up and make stuff happen. But do you find that the view that we're being shown seems to be meant to guide us into thinking about people one way, when in fact it may be a much bigger conversation?
Oh, of course. I mean, the media is always going to just chase what is interesting to watch. I mean, I used to be able to watch the nightly news, for example. I can't do it. I mean, first of all, it should be called, here's some video we found that's fun to watch. That's not the news.
Yeah.
Like anything that happens on a plane. Like the plane skidded off the runway, so what? It's just nothing.
Yeah.
And it's narrative over truth.
Yes.
I mean, it's not like when I hear people talk on either side of it, I always think they're lying. They're just telling me half of it.
Yep. Yeah.
And I never trust them anywhere until I check out the other.
And maybe that's why this moment hit such a nerve. It wasn't just about Bill Maher, Whoopi Goldberg, or one TV clash going viral. It was about a growing hunger for something that feels almost illegal on modern television. Honest disagreement without theatrical self-righteousness. People are tired of being managed, told what the decent opinion is, and watching wealthy media figures treat basic pushback like an attack. So when someone steps into that polished machine and says, "No, we're not doing this today," people notice. Not because he's always right or she's always wrong, but because in a culture built on narrative control, the most disruptive thing remains simple: someone willing to make the room uncomfortable with reality.